In today's video, I'm going to show you the quickest and easiest way to give internet to Claude. Now, when I say Claude, what I mean is Claude inside something like Cline or Cursor, right? So we're basically going to give access to documentation online to our preferred coding method. Now, this is actually extremely easy. It's something that I previously thought was difficult. However, with the kind of growth of MCPs, it's become extremely easy to do, and you can do it in literally less than 5 minutes. Now, what you will need is a Perplexity API key. I will be deleting this API key at the end of this video. There's no point copying it. It will be gone. And then you can kind of choose how you want to do this. I'm going to be using Smithery just because it's just the one that people seem to be using, right? So just go on Smithery, type in Perplexity, right? And then just look for one that looks good, probably the most used. So essentially this one or this one. I've just seen that this one's even more used than the one that I was using. However, I will go with this one just because, yeah, it was very easy to install. So the really cool thing about this, as you can see, there are a few different options here. We're going to go to Cline because I do use Cline, but feel free to use Cursor as well. I probably will install it on Cursor as well just to show you guys how it works. But yeah, Cline, just press copy here, right? And then we want to go to Visual Studio Code. So we'll just open up Visual Studio Code. And then we'll go to Terminal, New Terminal, Control V to paste, and then we'll paste that. You can see it's just giving us these options. So the first thing is API key. We'll use Sonar Pro, and then just press enter a couple of times. And then you can see here, MCP Perplexity successful installed for Cline. Now, I just want to quickly check something here. Is Supabase here? Because the Supabase one on Cline is absolutely shit. So I would, yeah, you can actually install it this way too. I'll be looking into that in a different video. However, for this video, we're just going to be focusing on Perplexity. So now if I go on Cline and click on the MCP servers and then install, you'll see it says method not found here for some reason. Okay, looks like it might be working now. Okay, good. So, okay, so for some reason that particular version isn't working, so we'll just copy a different one here, do the exact same thing. This is the one that had even more users, I should say. So that's now installed. So we'll do the same thing here, go on installed. We'll just close Visual Studio Code and reopen it. Let's see if that works. Oh, I actually have more than one Visual Studio Code open. Been looking at MCP for a couple of days now. Very, very interesting stuff for sure. Very complicated to start with. I definitely recommend using something like Smithery. Makes things a lot easier. Okay, so you can see here we have this one here, Perplexity Search. This one is working. So we'll turn off all other MCPs just because there's clearly something wrong with a few of these. And we'll just use this Perplexity Search here. So I'm just going to go on Cline itself, and I'm just going to go on the plan option. And I'm going to say, I want you to use MCPs. I want you to use Perplexity MCP to find and make a .md file of the latest documentation for Stripe and for Supabase. Right, so this is something that you can do at the beginning of every single project in order to give the context of the documentation, right, to Cline. This is something that previously you would have to do, but you'd have to just go on Google, type in Supabase, right, look for the documentation, and then manually copy and paste all relevant documentation into the project. Instead, we can now just do it with this. So if I just press Act here, what it should do is it should use the MCP. There we go. And we'll just say approve here. And what this is going to do is it says latest Stripe API documentation overview feature endpoints 2025. So what that will then do is hopefully it will give us a response which will have all of the latest Stripe API documentation. There we go. Yeah, okay. So we'll just auto approve these and just press approve here. That will just go through an auto approve process. So it should find actual code examples shortly. What you could also do is you could scrape each of these individually, but you can see all of that information is actually already there. So it now has information about API authentication and code examples. Let me search for more information about Stripe's payment processing capabilities, blah, blah, blah. So basically what this will then do is it will create two .md files. MD is markdown if you're not aware. And that will be full of all of the documentation that you need to create whatever project you're creating, right? So in this case, I would be creating like a SaaS project using Supabase for DB/auth and Stripe for payments, right? If you do this process without the MCP, without Perplexity, you'll probably waste about 3 hours trying to create this because the documentation isn't up to date. It will make mistakes. It doesn't have a reference point, you know, etc., etc. However, if it has a reference point of the .md files, right, which includes all of the information that it needs in order to code this, you are officially a 10x developer. Okay, you are 10xing, 10 timesing your output and your capabilities because you're no longer wasting time doing stupid things like this, right? So if that took 3 hours previously, okay, to do, which is 180 minutes, if it now takes you 18 minutes, you have 10x'd your output, meaning that you can make an MVP, a minimal viable product of a SaaS, in 18 minutes instead of in 3 hours, right? So you are officially a 10x developer. Congratulations, you can now go and work for a big company. That is obviously a bit tongue-in-cheek, but you can see here it's now creating all of this, right? I would probably change the prompt here to say like include actual code examples, right? So that it gets out. Okay, so it has actually included actual code examples. Perfect. And then you can also be more specific on the prompt. Like you can say, look, I want to use Supabase for database and auth and Stripe for free trial and recurring monthly payments. Please find me the relevant documentation for those points. And you can see it just creates these MD files. What we can then do with these MD files is we can take these MD files, put them into another project and use them to actually create something. So if I right click here and do reveal in File Explorer, right? And then let's say we go to open folder and we'll go to desktop. Desktop's fine. Cat, please don't go out the window. What are you doing? And we'll say new project example, right? And then select this folder. What we can then do is we can drag these MD files, right? So drag that here and then drag that there. Go to Cline, start a whole new project, put plan on and say, please start by reading and understanding the two.md files in my project. Press enter. And then what it'll do is it'll read those files and it'll give you a huge amount of understanding, or it'll give Cline a huge amount of understanding and up to date, as in from today, information about how to code this project. This is infinitely useful, okay? Very, very useful. The only thing I would change, the only thing I would mention, like I said before, is the prompting, right? So you want to say things like, I'm using Next.js, so that it knows to look for the Next.js documentation. You need to make sure that it knows what to look for. So database and auth, and obviously Stripe is for payments. That's just pretty universal. And then we could say from here, using this documentation, create me a project that has auth and Stripe. I will give you my .m variables, or make me a .m and I'll put them in. Now I'm not going to be doing that in this video. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is just to show you how to 10x your productivity. Okay, I'm going to leave the video there, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching all the way to the end of this video, you are an absolute effing legend. And I will see you very, very soon with some more content, probably like this. Peace out.